last class? On 7th, anything you remember about CSR, what we talked? So I will start from slide 19. We have gone little far, but we will again start from slide 19. We have seen a matrix where shareholder, investor, community, employer, worker, consumer, customer, all are interdependent on CSR, or CSR has certain responsibilities towards these 4 areas. We have read something about all these: consumer, customers. Now, last one I'm picking up is responsibility towards community, which I have finished, but let us start from here. Now, all you know, the major part of the obligation in CSR is towards the community or society as a whole. Individuals, okay, but basically CSR has been designed, or whatever has come up is that it should give back to the society from where it is getting its inputs and for which, from where he is earning the profit. So a businessman, we all know that whosoever has done business, has a mines or a industry or any factory or any firm, he is the one who has got tremendous amount of profit and they have become big people. So, and all that has come from the contribution by the society, by all these employee, the shareholders, stakeholders, and others, customer, buyers, all of them have contributed in a way, directly or indirectly. Now, similarly, the community also has contributed. So, the responsibility is maintain proper ecological balance of the surrounding, prevent environmental degradation caused due to haphazard and unchecked pollution of air, water, and land, keep goodness and safety of infrastructure with regular maintenance, repairs, and upgradation wherever necessary, rehabilitate the population displaced due to business operations, take initiative in the conservation of scarce resources, try to find out other alternatives and substitute wherever possible, contribute in the development of socially backward areas, promote ancillary, small scale and cottage industry. I think if you remember, I have given you examples how industry has transformed places like Damanjodi and other places where nothing was existing before 87, 88. And now they are a throbbing township with all type of facilities coming up there. So even providing crèche facility or daycare facility for children of the working mothers is a mandatory thing as per labor law nowadays. Then equal opportunity of employment to all, make provisions for social accountability. Means if because of the social accountability can be in many ways. Now, suppose you promote equality, suppose you promote health, you promote education, you promote helping the girl child or children education, primary health, health of the mother who is expecting a child. All that can be socially responsible things, and that will also help in meeting its social accountability. Maintain good relationship between business and society, cooperate with government and non-governmental organizations in their efforts to enhance the development and betterment of society, make possible contribution to promote education and control population, assist in overall development of the locality, improve the efficiency of business operations. Contribute, help in events of disaster like occurrence of any natural calamities, provide healthcare facilities for local community, especially for children, women, and senior citizens. Now we'll get into how CSR has been saved in India. So from 2007, adoption of inclusive growth, 11th 5-year plan, it started all that the government very seriously considered that CSR contributions from various companies can play a big role in economic development. And that is how government started expecting that big corporations will take up CSR seriously. Then in 2009, voluntary guidelines on corporate social responsibility came up. Then Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance 21st report on companies bill 2009, or that came into power in 2010, where they made the guidelines more effective, or more clarity brought into the guidelines. 2011 National Voluntary Guideline NVG on social, environmental and economic responsibilities of business, it came up. The business responsibility report, I think we have read somewhere. So then that came up in 2011. That guideline came up, and then from 2012 it has been made mandatory that business responsibility reporting has to be part of every annual report. And 2014 there was a Companies Act one was modified in 2013. CSR has been made mandatory. There have been further amendment after 2014, where in 2014 or the Companies Act 2013, there were provisions of carrying over the cost, the amount which is not spent. So actually there is a 2% margin of which has to be spent under CSR for corporates which are listed and having a particular turnover. Now in the Companies Act, it was like if you could not spend in a year, you can carry over next year and then. But what happened is many companies didn't wanted to spend and was only carrying over that money, which in fact was with them. Now after that, government took many steps, and now after the PM Cares Fund came, a lot of money has gone into that, because that was another fund created under the leadership of Prime Minister, and it was different than Prime Minister's Relief Fund, and Prime Minister can only decide about it. And so many companies have given donation to that. But in the Companies Act, which has been modified now, if you do not spend this CSR money now, that after a particular point of time, that money will go to a corpus which has been created by Government of India. It cannot remain with you, and then Government of India is free to spend it the way they want. Not that they will spend it for funding their budget, but they will spend it for social welfare measures. And in the amendment after 2014, not complying with CSR regulations were made as criminal offense, which were later again modified. Otherwise, when it was made criminal offense, there was a chance that if a company fails, then the directors can be jailed. They can be put into jail for not complying. So that was many companies objected, because it may not be physically possible every time to spend the money, whatever is here. So that was diluted, but that money will now go to government's consolidated fund. And that is how from 2007 to 2014, CSR guidelines have matured in India.
Sir, आपण हमको यूनिट 3 जाए शेयर करथिले PDF यूनिट 4 और यूनिट 5 रो शेयर करबा पेंडिंग अछि.
When I started मु आरंभ कला को से आई कहितली जे 4th ता देइनी, आ 5th आज सरी जीवो, सरी गले दीटा को देइ दे.
आगे से ठीक अछि. आगे
ओके, आज क्लास आरंभ बेल को मु से कहितली. मे बी आपण सेतु आसी नथले बे जा भी, maybe you were there but you have not heard. So that I will do today evening. I will complete. Now we'll take some cases of CSR by Indian companies. I don't know if you people know, but these companies, big companies, that really do CSR. And if you try to find out in their annual report, or if you make a Google search, you will find many inputs. Ultratech Cement, many of you know. Who is the owner of, which group is the owner of this cement company?
Aditya Birla. Aditya Birla.
And they have a plant in Orissa. Okay. Near Jharsuguda. Ultratech Cement, India's biggest cement company, is involved in social work across 407 villages in country, aiming to create sustainability and self-reliance. Its CSR activities focus on healthcare and family welfare program, education, infrastructure, environmental, social welfare, and sustainable livelihood. The company has organized medical camps, immunization programs, sanitation programs, school enrollment, plantation drives, water conservation program, industrial training, and organic farming program. Next is Mahindra and Mahindra. Indian automobile manufacturer Mahindra and Mahindra established the KC Mahindra Education Trust in 1954, followed by Mahindra Foundation in 1969. So you can see from which time these people have been doing CSR, but those were as per their own choice. Now, as per guidelines, they have to do. The company primarily focuses on education programs to assist economically and socially disadvantaged communities. Its CSR program invests in scholarship and grants, livelihood training, healthcare, and for remote areas, water conservation, and disaster relief programs. M&M runs programs such as Nanni Kali, focusing on education of girls, Mahindra Pride School for industrial training, and Lifeline Express for healthcare services in remote areas. ITC Group, I think during discussion I have told about the Agarbatti Drive, Mangaldeep and all. ITC Group is very active in CSR. If you buy Ashirwad Atta, then a 5 kg packet, certain amount of will go to some rural education funding and all. You may have seen it in their websites or many other places. So ITC Group, with business interests across hotel, FMCG, agriculture, IT and packaging sector, has been focusing on creating sustainable livelihood and environmental protection program. The company has been able to generate sustainable livelihood opportunity for 6 million people through its CSR activities. Their e-Chopal program, which aims to connect rural farmers through the internet for procuring agricultural products, covers 40,000 villages and over 4 million farmers. Its social and farm forestry program assists farmers in converting wasteland to pulp wood plantation. Actually, ITC Group also has interest in paper and all. So, by doing this, they also help their own business. Like if anyone who has visited JK Paper Mill, Raigada, or anyone is aware about JK Paper Mill, Raigada? JK Paper Mill, which is the one paper mill which is running properly. Either we had a Orient Paper Mill in Jharsuguda, which is now closed. Then in Thapar Group, we have a paper mill here, Chaudwar, but again, it is not in a very good shape. But JK Paper is running very well. They have expanded, and they are doing well. JK Paper Mills tries to promote plantation of this Nilgiri, eucalyptus trees, and because that is what they use for making paper. And they buy those things from the farmers. They help them with that chara. They give the plant and they also help the farmer to teach the farmer to how to do agriculture for that. And if you have a barren land where you cannot do, because in those hilly areas, it is not always possible to cultivate paddy. You can maximum cultivate some dal or ragi. But the very, very not in a very good shape. Those hilly areas, you can't do real cultivation. So if you plant eucalyptus, it can be very economic for you. And people from Andhra Pradesh, they are taking hundreds of acres on lease, because you cannot buy from a tribal people. They are taking it on lease and paying the small amount to the landowner, but earning a lot of profit. So ITC Group also does that. CSR initiatives and executives within the areas of philanthropy. Then next is we will also read about case studies in US and other countries. So case study, CSR initiatives and activities within the areas of philanthropy, stewardship, volunteerism, and environmental affairs are not treated as a regulatory compliance issue in the United States of America. They are unlike India. India is the only country where CSR is mandatory, because Indian businessmen are different. So, but in US, it is, the word corporate citizenship applies, and there most of the CSR initiatives are voluntary. It is not regulatory compliance. But companies in US do tremendous services, and it covers philanthropy, stewardship, volunteerism, and environmental affairs. So they get into everywhere. the Apple company, you must be knowing Apple phone, Apple, all that. There, each and every employee, after a particular period of service or hours, not service. I'm not saying the number of years, but if you put down this much of service in a week or something, then you have to also go and do some community service, distribute some food. The company will fund, but you have to go and participate. They do not have a CSR group to do that, unlike India. Every employee, he is a IT engineer or whatever, he has to go into the public and do that. And the best part of it is, Apple America, in the American office in San Francisco, the people from all over the world are working. So everybody goes out and does a varied group goes out and does the CSR work of the company. CSR in USA is often characterized by a voluntary societal engagement by business, as they are not obliged to undertake social and environmental responsibility practices. This environmental responsibility practices doesn't mean that there is no environmental law in US. There are, but beyond that, as a company, you have to, it is not mandatory that you should go. But if any one of you have seen the annual product launch event of Apple, first and foremost, or if you go to their annual report, you will see first and foremost is carbon neutral, how they are trying to be carbon neutral. I don't know if any one of you is aware. Now they have stopped supplying the adapters. And all the IT companies are now, or the mobile companies and all are now turning into one type of charger, USB-C, not the normal USB section or earlier other adapters. They're only going for C section chargers. Because all that will help in interchange of charger, and when you buy a mobile, it is not necessary always that you also need a charger, because you may be having the charger if the charger is standardized. So in order to help in reducing carbon footprint, they are also getting into such modes. Social responsibility. Just a minute. Social responsibility and corporate citizenship go beyond financial reporting requirements. These behaviors are particularly evidenced in cause-related marketing, stewardship initiative, philanthropic and charitable contributions. So it is beyond the regulatory requirement. It is more spontaneous than government forced. In fact, US companies donate 10 times as much as their British counterparts. The US Secretary of State's agenda is to ensure effective coordination and partnership with individual bureaus and offices in order to harness global economic tools that advances US foreign policy goals on responsible initiatives. So this US Secretary of State, who is the Foreign Secretary, will coordinate with various bureaus to channelize even the CSR funds to influence US foreign affairs. So that is how, because those companies, they themselves give money. So you will find US firms doing charity in Africa, in Southeast Asia, or in other places where US government has an interest. So it's a joint effort by government and others. US Bureau of Economics and Business Affairs, EB, leads a corporate social responsibility team. Its primary purpose is to promote responsible business practices and fostering sustainable development while building economic security. So they are using CSR, the money coming out of CSR, for national economic security, you can say, or national benefit, or national benefit as a company's political or social benefit. These team provides guidance to American companies and their stakeholders to engage in corporate citizenship. So it is the CSR activities in US is in another level. Okay. EB's CSR team supports in areas of good corporate citizenship, human rights, labor and supply chains, anti-corruption, health and social welfare, contribution to growth and development of local economy, innovation, employment and industrial relation, environmental protection, natural resource governance, transparency, trade and supply chain management, intellectual property and women's economic empowerment, among other issues. Most of EV's corporate policies are drawn from the organization OECD, which has formulated the guideline for CSR. And you will be surprised that most of the, the government of US also funds a lot of R&D. And that R&D money also sometimes can come from the CSR funds of various companies. Next is CSR in UK. CSR is reported to be started in British isolation.
So R&D, research and development.
It is 1800, around the time of Industrial Revolution. So it is quite old. The term CSR itself was coined many decades later. So when 1800 AD, when the CSR activities which are now termed as CSR has started in UK, and the CSR name is a very recent idea. Some companies as early as 19th century had already recognized how important it was to give their employees decent living conditions. I think during some slide I have told you that this is how CSR started in UK, that even constructing houses for the employee was not there before that, and they started it as a part of CSR activities as a responsibility towards their employees. Low-cost houses were built close to the factories for workers, designed to create a truly autonomous community with its own services. The focus on employees was such that at the beginning of 19th century, 1900, some business owners even started to create pension funds for their workers. Such initiatives taken for granted today were considered revolutionary at that point of time. And now again, in many countries, we do not have, in India itself, we are running away from the government pension scheme, but we have installed a national pension scheme where you have to contribute also and the company will contribute. But pension also started as a CSR activity. Some of the initiatives started in UK connecting business development with social and environmental issues are mentioned below. BITC, Business in the Community, a network of over 700 companies working on a program for business development based on inspiration, integrity, integration, innovation, and impact, in which a social focus is promoted as intrinsic to good business. So it is a group network of over 700 companies. They decide how to do CSR to benefit all around. The Association of Chartered Certified Accountants has developed initiative to promote transparent, complete, and credible company reporting, capable of accurately reporting financial, social, and environmental performance. A series of indicators called as FTSE4 Good Index of the London Stock Exchange, similar to Dow Jones Sustainability Index, to assess a listed company's degree of sustainability. So the stock exchange in UK also, they have an index where you can also know the rating of the company, how it is doing under CSR. This British government and parliament have worked to promote social responsibility both in companies and in charity sector in last 40 years. Some measures are Equal Pay Act 1970, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, the Sex Discrimination Act 1975, and Race Relation Act 1976. Under Blair's government 1997 to 2000, the world's first minister for CSR, Kim Howells, was appointed in March 2000. Since then, government institutions have been at the forefront of disseminating CSR principles and implementing the adoption by all organizations of ever more transparent and comprehensive annual reporting to highlight social and environmental initiatives. According to a recent study by KPMG, this has led to an almost 95% spread of reporting among large companies.
Sir, what is KPMG?
It's a consulting firm. PwC, have you ever heard? Rice Waterhouse and Cooper?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Deloitte, PwC.
All these KPMG there are many, but KPMG one of the leading. McKinsey,
Yes.
KPMG, very leading.
Yes, sir.
They are working all over world.
Yes,
Basically
sir.
American company, but They have offices everywhere. This has led to an almost 95% spread of reporting among large companies. At the same time, the central administration has urged local council to encourage and promote CSR culture, rooting it yet deeper in countries' infrastructure. So their government sees CSR in UK and US as an instrument for development of countries' policy. CSR in Germany. In Germany, corporate social responsibility is considered one of the decisive factors for sustainable development. For many years, the federal government has been promoting corporate social responsibility as part of its policies. In 2007, Federal Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs became the lead ministry for CSR. So in UK, the ministry started in 2000, and in Germany, the ministry came up in 2007. And if you remember the slide which I have given you, India CSR also, the thing started in 2007 around, in a formal way, in an organized way. In January 2009, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs launched the CSR National Forum, composed of 44 experts from the world of business, trade unions, NGOs, and local authorities to decide the broad spectrum of work. In October 2010, when the work of forum ended, the German federal government adopted the CSR in Germany's action plan. This action plan envisages measures to contain climate change, raise social and working standards, the promotions of good labor practices, disseminate social responsibility through the direct engagement of citizens, and the development of informed citizenship for companies. Informed citizenship of companies is again corporate social responsibility or socially responsible corporate citizens. The German government has outlawed child labor in 1869 and later has introduced regulations on welfare of workers' right leg. So in most of the countries, you will see CSR has started from workers' welfare. So 1869 was abolition of child labor, then 1883 adoption of a compulsory health insurance for workers, 1889 introduction of first pension fund, 1918 recognition of workers' union, 1927 introduction of unemployment benefits. And actually in most of the Europe, in Netherlands and other big countries, you get an unemployment allowance. Suppose you are not employed, then government pays you an allowance, and it is substantial. It can make you survive. And young people, girls and boys, and if you marry, one will get. So what they do, because in their society, living relationship and others are okay. So both of them claim the A, they do not marry, and with that money, they can even go around the world. But it doesn't, it doesn't make them lazy, or it is not that they don't want to work. But they are, getting a work is really difficult unless you have those qualifications, and number of jobs are also limited. So that is why there is unemployment benefits also. Moreover, the green soul of German awareness has meant that as early as 1906, the first environmental agency was set up in Prussia, and in 1974, West Germany was one of the first countries to introduce strict legislation to protect environment. These steps can also be seen as beginning of CSR. Someone said should be introduced in India too. What he wants, Partha Sarathi Beuria. The UN guiding principles on business and human rights and the OECD revised guidelines for multinational enterprises has led to a stronger focus on corporate due diligence in compliance with the labor, social and environmental standards. The EU, European Union Communication 2011, defining CSR as the responsibility of the enterprises for their impact on society, has also changed the understanding of CSR in Germany significantly. Germany has worked hard to increase the visibility and credibility of CSR so that it can be disseminated and a wider public becomes aware of the social and environmental aspects of this approach to business. Then what are the laws on CSR in India? India is the first country in the world to make corporate social responsibility mandatory, following an amendment to the Companies Act 2013 in April 2014. Those companies with a net worth of 500 crores or more, or an annual turnover of rupees 1,000 crore or more, or a net profit of rupees 5 crores or more during a financial year, shall earmark 2% of average net profits of 3 years towards CSR. If a company ceases to meet the above criteria for 3 consecutive financial years, then it is not required to comply with CSR provision till such time it meets the specified criteria. So net worth is 500 crores, annual turnover is 1,000 crore, net profit is more than 5 crores. Any of these 3 during a financial year, if you do, then from there on you will start earmarking 2% of average net profit. Average net profit means whatever you have made in last 3 years. So suppose this is the first year you are making profit, last 2 years you have made loss. So if the average, on the average for last 3 years you are still not making profit, then you will not pay. But as you keep on becoming a profitable company, then your payment obligation starts.
Sir, to get involved in CSR activity, the concerned organization or entity needs to make MOU, or it can be done without MOU?
No MOU is required. No MOU is required. MOU with whom?
Okay, sir. To the party, the company is going to make the CSR activity.
You want to pay, suppose your company wants to sponsor education of children. So they can select school, they will have some criteria, they can select school, adopt that school, make building, provide a fund for...
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
You don't need an MOU. Similarly, suppose you want to promote an anath ashram, or you want to donate to a trust, you can do that. You don't need an MOU for that.
Okay, sir.
If a company seizes, and then suppose your company was making profit, you have been donating, now you don't make profit, and 3 consecutive financial years you are in loss, then you can stop paying that 2% amount. And these are most of the listed companies, okay? Section 135(4) of the Companies Act 2013 mandates every company qualifying under Section 135(1) to make a statutory disclosure of CSR in its annual reports of board. Rule 9 of the Companies Corporate Social Responsibility Policy Rules 2004 prescribe the format in which such disclosure is to be made. CSR includes, but is not limited to, the following: projects related to activities specified in Companies Act. Because India, if you leave free everything, if you leave to them, then you will not find any effective investment. Some people will do whatever they like, and they can distribute money. They will just ensure that money is spent, but whether it is spent properly or not, or with the aim for which CSR is directed, that may not take place. So that is why in government has specified certain activities. You can only spending on those activities can qualify for CSR. Projects related to activities taken by the company board as recommended by the CSR committee, provided those activities cover items listed in the Companies Act. Business must note that expenses towards CSR are not eligible for deduction in computation of taxable income. However, donations to trust can be part of CSR expenditure and may be eligible under Section 80G. Earlier, if a company was unable to fully spend the CSR fund in a given year, it could carry the amount forward and spend it in the next fiscal year, in addition to the money allotted for that final year. But now that rule has changed. The CSR amendment introduced under the Act now requires companies to deposit the unspent CSR fund in a fund prescribed under Schedule 7 of the Act within the end of the fiscal year. So you cannot keep that money, it will go to that fund. This amount must be utilized within 3 years from the date of transfer, failing which the fund must be deposited to one of the specified funds. The new law prescribes for a monetary penalty as well as imprisonment in case of non-compliance. The penalty ranges from 50,000 to INR 2.5 million whereas the defaulting officer of the company may be liable to imprisonment for up to 3 years or a fine of 5 lakhs or both. CXR activities have been defined in Schedule 7 of the Act, like educating hunger, eradicating hunger, poverty and malnutrition, promoting healthcare, all that. Promoting education, including special education and employment enhancement skill, promoting gender equality, empowering women, setting up homes and hostels for women, orphans, setting up old age homes. Now, when you talk of MOU, somebody was asking, now suppose there is a company like, I think you must have heard, when people want to take the help of kids, KISS, KISS, Kalinga, for that their education for tribals, they can sign an MOU with KISS, where KISS will erect, run and do that, and the company will spend. Or you can directly do that with your own machinery. Ensuring environmental sustainability, ecological balance, protection of flora, fauna, animal welfare, agroforestry, conservation of natural resources, all that can be part of CSR activities. Protection of national heritage, art and culture, including restoration of buildings and sites of historical importance and work of art. Measures for benefit of armed forces, veterans, war widows, and other dependents. So all these areas, if you want to spend, you can spend, and that will qualify as a CSR expenditure. Training to promote rural sports, nationally recognized sports, contribution to Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. Now PM Cares Fund also is included. Contributions or fund provided to technology incubators located within academic institutions which are approved by the central government. For startup and all that is now made part of actually in US, these are the areas where people do spend. Promoting R&D is seen as an CSR activity. And the tremendous funding in, I was talking to one Indian scientist who works for US federal government on various metals and all. You will be surprised how they are proceeding and working to give you a glimpse of that. We are talking of electric vehicle in India. It is still in the very nascent stage. When you see advertisement for an electric car, you see how many kilometers it can run in one charge. Now the US government has taken up research that along the national highway, on the side of the national highway, there will be a service road type of thing. So when you are driving your car and your battery levels come down, you can change to this that service road type of, and you can run there at a particular speed specified in that. And while you keep on running, your battery will be charged. They are developing this technology. They are developing those materials. So because you can't have like on electric rail line, you have electric wires and all. Here you can't have that, because otherwise people will get shocked and people will die, because it is not only car but many people go transfer. Even the animals also cross the road. So now they are developing that technology. There are tremendous amount of technology coming up, and this liquid hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, hydrogen fuel cell, hydrogen combustion, internal combustion engine of hydrogen. All these are being funded by government and industry, and massive in amount. I was told by that scientist, they like in India we have also various parties, and in US there are 2 parties. So the federal sponsor of the money which is coming for a research really doesn't matter much, because the money doesn't stop. Only the broad objective of the research can change by a change of government. But these people are so intelligent, the scientists and all, they only modify the end results and try to continue the same research over a period, because every R&D has a very long gestation period. R&D cannot be done in 1 or 2 or 6 months. So there are tremendous amount of research, and as you know, the economic fighting will be through intellectual property and control of strategic minerals. I don't know if you any one of you is aware, China controls most of the strategic minerals now, which are required for making chips, solar panels, and other. I was reading in a news item somewhere that lithium and all, China has tremendous deposit and they have production facilities for all that. Now because of their fighting with the US and other countries, they are restricting supply of silicon wafers, lithium things. So, lithium ion batteries cannot be produced, the solar panels cannot be produced, so you cannot harness solar energy. So there are so many issues. There was a time when car manufacturing got delayed by 9 months, 1 year because of lack of supply of chips. And that was because the chips integrated circuits were made in Taiwan and China mainly. The material also is there. Russia, in America and all, they have shifted all their manufacturing, Europe and America, they have shifted most of their manufacturing facilities to China because of cheap labor. And now China is controlling that. So in US or Europe, so CSR funds are also seen to help that. Okay. Rural development projects, slum area development. In India, you can do this. Rural development projects, slum area development, contribution of funds provided to technology incubators and all that. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has instituted National CSR Award to recognize corporate social responsibility for inclusive growth and sustainable development. This award seeks to recognize the companies that have made a transformative impact on society. NCSRA seeks to recognize outstanding projects in the following 3 categories. 4 awards for excellence in CSR based on CSR spend. 5 awards for CSR projects in aspirational districts. 11 awards for CSR projects in national priority area. I don't know if you are aware, but aspirational district government, we have around 400 or 500 districts in our country, 500 something, if I remember correctly, in 30 states. So some of the districts which were very backward, like KBK in Orissa, government has made them aspirational district, Government of India. So if you take up any project in those areas, in those districts for economic development, then you will get if you do good things, then you can get an award for performance on CSR. Then this award for excellence in CSR based on CSR spend, how much you are spending. Suppose 2% is mandatory, but if some companies are spending more on them effectively, more than 2%, which is required mandatorily, then there is a possibility that they can be awarded. And the last is national priorities areas. Now, as I have said, government sometimes sets priorities on various technologies. Now, there is a priority on rare earth, which is Chhatrapur. Anyone is aware? Indian Rare Earths Limited. Odisha Samudra Kulare Balire rare earth ଅଛି. Rare earth are some type of metal which are very rare. And the monazites in the sand in Chhatrapur area or the coast from Berhampur to Brahmagiri contains lot of monazites, and there you can find even thorium. Thorium is a atomic material.
Nuclear.
Somebody was saying something? So once the government fixes a priority area that these are the areas where we want, like suppose skill development. Government is now also concentrating very much on skill development. National Skill Development Council is there. So if a company, there again, somebody was asking me about MOU. There you can, if you do not want to set up ITIs or something like on your own, you can tie up with existing institutions through MOUs and fund the program and control the effectiveness also. Funding is one, but controlling the effectiveness also is required for your CSR to succeed. So under NCDS, National Skill Development Council, there are various programs, and you can tie up with organizations like trusts and charitable organizations or NGOs to carry forward those. And if you do good activity, there are 11 awards on that. These separate awards are for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Now, many of you may ask whether micro, small, and medium enterprises can have those parameters, but 5 crore profit is also possible for them. So they can also qualify for CSR. Not that they are mandatory, but they can. So if some companies do CSR on their own, which is still not mandatory for them, then there is a possibility that they will also qualify for these awards. In accordance with the scheme for National CSR Awards 2020, the following have been designated to make nominations under the different categories as mentioned above. Who can nominate a person to a name of a company for these awards? Ministries, departments of Government of India, state and union territories, government, professional institution, ICSI, ICAI, ICMAI. I'm not very sure about MAI, but I will come back on that. Chartered accountant and cost accountant, company secretary. The national level trade and industry chambers, CII, CII, all that, there are many. So these people can nominate a company. Now, can anybody guess what will be the benefit if you are awarded by Government of India for your CSR? Why this CSR award are there?
To encourage industry.
Sir, for motivated to who is spending for CSR.
Actually, if you are awarded on a national basis, your image as a company also grows.
Yes, sir.
So that is why. So more people know, people in general, public in general will appreciate. They will be knowing. So you know, your brand, your image, your everything goes up. So your value also goes up.
Yes.
You are considered as a very serious company. So then you can also benefit by investment in others. People may start considering you very seriously. So that
Sir,
is
positive business reputation.
Yes, something like that. Positive business reputation or brand or image or whatever. So that may help in attracting good employees. That may help in retaining customers, loyalty. That may help in getting investors' preference. All that. So people do compete. Known companies need not bother. Like Tata's, they have been doing so. Birla's, they have been doing like all that big names I have taken. They need not bother much. But again, getting something will also gives you a recognition. But other companies who are not yet known in the national arena, if their name is flashed, automatically they get good mileage out of that. And who can promote? Government, state governments, professional institutions. Why? Because otherwise, if you start promoting yourself, then the selection will become difficult and their objectivity will be lost. Since the applicability of mandatory CSR provision in 2014, CSR spending by corporate India has increased significantly. In 2018, companies spent 47% higher as compared to the count in 2014-15, contributing 1 billion to CSR initiative according to a survey. So you can imagine how much money CSR can generate. And we have read in one of the slides, the CSR can contribute very positively towards economic development of the country, which you have also studied during the slides on UK and US. Then how government is now making or channelizing these funds for greater role, for greater benefit for the country as a whole. Listed companies in India spent INR 100 billion, US dollar 1.4 billion in various programs ranging from educational program, skill development, social welfare, healthcare, and environmental consumption. While the Prime Minister's Relief Fund saw an increase of 139% in CSR contribution over last 1 year. These are all little old data in 2018 and 19. After the introduction of PM CARES Fund very recently, this is one of the highest receiver of CSR funds in India till now. Unfortunately, PM CARES Fund is above audit and all, so reporting is at their will. You can't really get much figure unless they want to give that fund. See, it is beyond CAG and others. Nobody can audit it or do something like that. So that is where it is the only issue. But anyway, but PM CARES Fund is a way where money can be channelized. CSR money can be given or donated. So even the PM's Prime Minister's Relief Fund had got 39% increase after it was made mandatory. So you can really understand how this is helping. The education sector received the maximum funding, 38% of total, followed by hunger, poverty, and healthcare, 25%, environmental sustainability, 12%, and rural development, 11%. So these areas really got benefited. So whatever has been government has been spending, and we know that in India, the government spending in education and health is very poor as compared to any developed countries like US, Europe, or something. So CSR can increase these allocations. So programs such as technology incubators, sports, armed forces, reducing inequalities was negligible spend. But this is where the area technology incubators and all, we really need contributions from CSR. So for betterment of our country as a whole. Taking into account the recent amendments to CSR provision, industry research estimates CSR compliance to improve and range between 97 to 98% by FY 2019 and 20. With that, I have finished this course. You have any question on this CSR part? We can discuss. If you want, we have some time. 5 minutes. 5 minutes we can discuss and stop, or whatever. The way
Sir, please share important questions, sir.
Important questions. I have not made any questions, so that will be a difficult task for me to do. I have really not made any questions for you because DDC will make that question and give you. So it can be anything, you know, whatever I have read, I think it should come within from there only. Nothing, but I have really very little role to play in question.
Sir, we are little bit aspired for it.
You are little bit?
Aspired.
For what?
Question, sir.
But I really do not have any clue. And
ठीक है सर, चलिए sir.
But take it as, don't worry. It is like, you know, you will get from whatever we have read. You will not get something from outside. And I was searching the website and I find PM CARES Fund they have received around 415 crores in the year 2021-22, and in the earlier year they have received 7,014 crores. So you can just see how much money it is coming to the bank. Okay. Sorry, the receipt is 9131 or 9132 crores. Is it in crore? It is in crore. Then earlier year it was 1099. So that is how the amount going into PM Cares Fund. You can find out in others also. PM Relief Fund and all you will get. And tremendous amount of spending is being done in India. But as I said, the target has to change into technology level development also, funding the startups. Government can take it that way. Okay. So thank you. I will send the PDFs to Rasmi Madam just now. And
Thank you, sir. It's been really amazing classes.
thank you.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good
Sir,
evening.
last class thila na out hobani.
ना এটা 10টা ক্লাস অনলাইন রে 10টা ক্লাস हुए অনলাइन ऑफलाइन মিশাইকি 10টা ক্লাস हुए সো সেতিকি বাকি
Sir, if it is possible, please share in future for selected questions. If it is possible. If not, then it's okay.
but I have not done anything on that. So let me see if I can do that.